Have you ever finished a shift and felt completely exhausted? Well, I have. And to be real, I just sit there and stare into blank space to cope. That feeling can be more than the usual tiredness. It can be a sign of burnout. The World Health Organization actually refers to this concept as an occupational phenomenon. This is because it's usually an enduring response to constant pressure and stresses in a workplace. It is often accompanied by feelings of intense fatigue, loss of enthusiasm, as well as reduced effectiveness and achievement. Burnout occurs gradually and can impact both individuals and organizations in several ways. It can deteriorate one's mental health and lead to poor productivity and commitment while at work, thereby impacting the organization and leading to a decrease in profits, an increase in injuries, illnesses, and loss of staff. It is important to not neglect these feelings as they can worsen your mental health and well-being over time. Moving forward, did you know that being constantly exposed to other people's pains and traumas can lead to feelings of emotional fatigue and can alter the way we view and think about the world? This is actually a concept known as vicarious trauma, and it has similar symptoms to burnout. It occurs when a professional is in contact with a traumatized person or when exposed to disturbing content or material. According to research, it goes deeper than the typical emotions and mental responses we experience when we feel empathy for someone. Vicarious trauma can naturally reshape a person's personal and professional identity and can also disrupt psychological needs and perceptions of the world. It is important to understand and address vicarious trauma to avoid impacts on mental health.
Let's start with the cause of burnout. Research over the past decades shows that burnout often develops when employees face high job demands that require ongoing physical, emotional, or cognitive effort. This can include heavy workloads, role uncertainty, conflicting expectations, and workplace pressure. Over time, constant exposure to these demands can leave workers chronically exhausted and psychologically detached from their work. But burnout doesn't just come from high demands. It's also about a lack of job resources. When opportunities for professional growth, feedback, or support are missing, employees may start to feel that their work has lost its meaning. Without positive reinforcement and development, motivation declines and negative attitudes can begin to take hold. Now, let's look at vicarious trauma, a risk that comes from working closely with people who've experienced distress or trauma. Anyone who engages empathetically with survivors or even with case materials describing traumatic events can be affected. This might happen through listening to clients, reading case files, or writing reports about sensitive experiences. Research shows that how someone responds positively or negatively depends on both their work environment and their personal coping resources.
Now we'll talk about some practical steps the institution can take to help prevent burnout and vicarious trauma. Number one is to always offer instruction and training. This means to provide instruction on how to spot the early warning signs of vicarious trauma and fatigue. Instruct students in trauma-informed techniques, emotional control, mindfulness, and coping mechanisms, and incorporate refresher courses for continued career advancement. Number two is to promote work-life balance and reasonable workloads. This means to keep an eye out on caseloads and reassign when staff members are overburdened. Wherever possible, encourage flexible scheduling and observe the distinctions between professional and personal time. For example, refrain from sending emails after hours. Number three is to acknowledge and honor employee contributions. This means to honor accomplishments, significant anniversaries, and deeds of kindness, and remind employees that their work is important and worthwhile rather than merely difficult. Wait, so how can I, as a professional, prevent this from happening? I can answer that question for you. As a professional, you should be setting work boundaries. That means refraining from bringing client problems home with you, emotionally or psychologically. Leave work at work. Also, establish boundaries for communication and working hours outside of shifts. Always remember to take care of yourself. Take part in rest and recuperation promoting activities like exercise, hobbies, sleep, diet, etc. Plan frequent pauses throughout the day, and rather than saving it up, take your yearly break. Number 3, pay attention to purpose and meaning. Consider the benefits of your contribution to community safety and recovery, and re-establish a connection with your career objectives and personal beliefs.
Now, let's talk about the practical steps an institution and case officer can do to overcome burnout and vicarious trauma. If you find yourself affected, know this: recovery is possible, and it's a shared mission between you and Victoria Corrections. Studies highlight that a large section of caseworkers will undergo vicarious trauma and burnout. This can become more persistent over time, becoming more severe in experienced and seasoned workers. We see this among many case management professionals, especially when working with sex offenders, child protection, and family violence. This is a reflection of the occupational hazards inherent to its high-stress environment. Here at Victoria Corrections, we recognise the failures of many institutions in neglecting the case officer's needs in addressing these issues. These traditional approaches would place the entire burden of prevention and recovery on the individual. Our contemporary approach here at Victoria Corrections is different. We see the well-being of our employees as a shared responsibility. By cooperating with our institutional frameworks, here are some practical steps and guidelines for preventing vicarious trauma and burnout. We ensure that you have immediate confidential access to counsellors who specialise in vicarious trauma and burnout. We encourage employees to proactively utilise our services and to engage with peers and build healthy relationships. Supervision and oversight is an essential component of case management here at Victoria Corrections. Each case officer will be provided with forms of supervision designated to preemptively intervene to prevent burnout and vicarious trauma. It is crucial that you engage in a clear and open dialogue with your supervisor. Be prepared to say, "I'm struggling with the effects of my work and I need to discuss support options." Your supervisor is trained to help, but they can't if they don't know. If a case officer has already found themselves suffering from symptoms of vicarious trauma or burnout, we have implemented additional practical steps in assisting in recovery. We will conduct reviews to adjust your caseloads and create a balanced, diversified space needed for your recovery. We prioritise our employees' mental health. If you are unwell or need to rest, we encourage using your sick leave or personal leave for mental health recovery. This is a legitimate and justified use of your entitlements. If you do require leave, we will build up a return plan to ensure a sustainable transition back to your role. This partnership model works. Studies show that regular supervision, balanced caseloads, and a strong peer network will reduce burnout and vicarious trauma. That's why our commitment is to implement these steps as part of an organisational culture that values your long-term well-being. We are invested in providing the support you need to recover from the challenges and building a healthy and fulfilling career with us. We thank you for watching this informational video about burnout and vicarious trauma for new employees of Victoria Corrections Community Case Management. We look forward to working with you.